Jungle.
14 learner-centered principles. Do you have an idea what are the 14 learner-centered principles? So stay tuned. Good day everyone. This is Wilbert Gala, the little teacher of Study Hub 4. Today, we are going to discuss the 14 learner-centered principles with our speakers and their assigned principles. The first speaker who will discuss the cognitive and metacognitive factors by Mr. Raymar Kapeng, followed by the motivational and social factors which I will discuss. Developmental and social factors by Mr. Jarwin Galvez. Individual differences and factors by Mr. Rojimar Kulad. And lastly, Alexander and Murphy's summary of the 14 principles by Mr. Jasper Migo Dago. What factors impact and how children learn differently? How can teachers make learning effective in the classroom? These are the good questions. But first, let us define the goal of this topic. You need to do the following at the end of our lesson. Number 1 is to identify the 14 learner-centered psychological principles. Number 2 is to describe the factors affecting the learner-centered psychological principles. And number 3 is to discuss the different factors affecting the individual's difference of children. And lastly, number 4 is to identify the ways to apply the 14 principles instructions as a future teacher.
Hi everyone, I am Raymar M. Kapeng, and now we will be going to discuss all about cognitive and metacognitive factors. So now let's define what is cognitive or cognition. So cognitive or cognition is a term of referring to the mental processes involved in gaining knowledge and comprehension. So it is all about knowledge, it is all about our brain. It is what we learn something in this world or from other people. So that is for cognitive. So let's proceed to metacognitive. When we say metacognitive, it comes from the root word meta, meaning beyond. It refers to a higher order thinking which involves active control, a cognitive process engaged in learning. It is an appreciation of what one already knows. So it is like enhancement of what we've already known to know more or to know better about something that we want to know. So that is for metacognitive. So let's proceed to our main topic, which is the cognitive and metacognitive factors. So there are 6 factors, including number 1, nature of the learning process. Number 2, goals of the learning process. Number 3, construction of knowledge. Number 4, strategic thinking. Number 5, thinking about thinking. And number 6, context of learning. So let's discuss this one by one. So number 1 is nature of the learning process. The learning of a complex subject matter is most effective when it is an intentional process of constructing meaning from information and experiences. So it is all about our experiences. It is all about learning from our parents, including for example, including our language, what we say when we are a child, when we were getting up to adolescence, up to adulthood. So that is the learning from our parents, from our relatives, or it includes our cultural background, our historical backgrounds, all the things from the history. It's all about the nature, what we influenced or inherited by our parents. So number 2 is the goals of the learning process. A successful learner over time and with support and instructional guidance can create meaningful, coherent representations of knowledge. So it is all about how the parents teaches the learners or the children on how they can be a good person in the future. So the successful learner, it is something, or the kids that has that is matured, or they are getting matured, or they will know what is the right and what is wrong. So that is for number 2. Number 3 is the construction of knowledge. The successful learner can link new information with existing knowledge in meaningful ways. So the construction of knowledge, it is all about a person that can use a word, or that can define a word in a wider way. They can think critically, or they have a high intellectual capacity that can think more about the topic or the specific topic that they are trying to convey to other people. So now let's proceed to number 4, the strategic thinking. The successful learner can create and use a repertoire of thinking and reasoning strategies to achieve complex learning goals. So there are many ways, or there are many strategies on how we can learn something. Like for example, we want to learn, or we want to study. We can study from writing, reading, and there are many ways on how we can learn on our own, and that is for strategic thinking. All of us, we have our own strategy on how we can learn something that is important or necessary to our life. So now let's proceed to the number 5, thinking about thinking. Higher order strategies for selecting and monitoring mental operations facilitate creative and critical thinking. Thinking about thinking, it means that it's about examining how we take in and process information, and figuring out ways we can do that more efficiently. So let's proceed to the last, which is the number 6, context of learning. Learning is influenced by environmental factors including culture, technology, and instructional practices. So it means that we as human beings, we learn something from our culture. We were influenced by our culture to learn something, like if we are Yakan, if we are Tausug, if we are Bisaya, if we are Chabacano. So there are many cultural differences that we have, but we can learn from it. There are many lessons or learnings from each culture. So next is we have the technology. So nowadays people are using technology to learn something. Like for example, us, we are using our gadgets to learn something about the issues that we are trying to know in our society, and that is so much important in our daily lives. In summary, my topic is all about our learnings. It is all about how we develop also ourselves, and it is very important to us to have a learning, to have an idea of what is cognitive and metacognitive factors, to be able to have a good and to have a good life in the future by learning more about ourselves, about our minds, to be more active and to be more knowledgeable about something or in our society in this world today. That's all for my part. The next reporter, Mr. Wilbert Piala, will discuss all about the motivational and social factors.
Motivational and affective factor. Have you ever wondered why some days you are on fire with motivation and learning, while on other days it feels like a struggle? Today, we are diving into the captivating world of motivational and affective factors in learning. Get ready to unlock the secrets to boosting your learning potential and achieving your goals. First factors is the motivational and emotional influence on learning. This principle acknowledges the significant role that emotions, thoughts, beliefs, and personal expectation plays in the learning process. Learners' emotional states such as enthusiasm or anxiety can impact the quality of their thinking and informational process. Positive emotions and growth mindset can enhance learning, while negative emotions or fixed beliefs can interfere with it. For example, a student who believes they are bad at math and may approach math assignment with a negative mindset. This negative belief can interfere with their ability to think clearly and to process mathematical information effectively. In contrast, a student who believes they can improve with effort and practice is likely to approach math tasks with a growth mindset and enhancing their learning experience. So, therefore, understanding the impact of motivational and emotional influence on learning can guide your teaching strategies and can be applied by offering regular encouragement and praise for their effort, focusing on their improvement rather than just the final grades, and sharing stories of famous individuals who initially struggled with math but persevered. This emphasizes that intelligence is not fixed and anyone can be improved with practice. Knowing the significant connection between motivational and emotional influence on learning helps pave the way of the development of intrinsic motivation. Intrinsic motivation to learn. Intrinsic motivation to learn refers to the innate desire to learn and explore. When tasks are designed to be of optimal difficulty and difficulty, align with the personal interest and allow for personal choice and control. Learners are more likely to be intrinsically motivated, can lead to more sustained learning because learners are driven by genuine curiosity and interest. For instance, in a science class, a teacher assigns a project that allows a student to choose a topic related to their interests. One student selected a project on an astronomy because they have always been fascinated by the stars. This intrinsic motivation drives the student to engage deeply with the topic, research it intensively, and present their findings enthusiastically, leading it to richer learning experience. Understanding the relationship between motivation and effort is critically for both teachers and students. In an educational setting, you can use these principles by encouraging learners to set clear, achievable goals. These provide motivation and sense of direction. Lastly, the effect of motivation on effort. Motivation is closely tied to the amount of effort learners are willing to invest in the learning process. Complex knowledge and skill acquisition often requires substantial effort, strategic planning, and persistence over time. When learners are motivated, they are more likely to put in the necessary effort to master the challenging material. For instance, the two students preparing for an history exam. A student A is highly motivated to excel and is eager to put it in the effort. They created a study schedule, seek additional resources, and persistently reviewed the material. Student B, on the other hand, lacks the motivation and only sporadically studies the material. As a result, student A's higher motivation leads to greater effort and better learning outcomes. So, without a doubt, the idea of motivational impacts on effort has considerably impact on students' academic progress. It applies to pupils by defining specific, achievable academic goals. When students have clear objectives, they are more likely to be motivated to put in the necessary effort. For example, setting goals for grades, project completion, or skill mastery. In summary, these principles highlights the crucial role of motivational and emotional factors in learning experience. They emphasize how emotions, beliefs, and expectations can significantly impact on learning outcomes. These principles are not only applicable to the classroom settings but also to various aspects of life, emphasizing the profound impact of motivation and emotional states on personal growth and academic success. That's all, everyone. Now let's proceed to our next reporter.
A pleasant day to each and everyone. I am Jeremy Alves and I will be the third speaker for this video presentation. Before I proceed to my topic, let me discuss the summary of the previous speaker all about motivational and social factors. These principles highlight the crucial role of motivational and emotional factors in the learning process. They emphasize how emotions, beliefs, and expectations can significantly impact learning outcomes. These principles are not only applicable to classroom settings but also to various aspects of life, emphasizing the profound impact of motivation and emotional states on personal growth and academic success. So moving on to my main topic, which is all about the developmental and social factors. So first, we're going to define and discuss all about the developmental factors. So developmental factors in psychology refers to factors that are important in explaining why a behavior occurred. Developmental factors play an important role in learning. Development is the process of potentiality becoming actuality. The basic human capacities of loving, knowing, and willing seek expression in life. At a conception, unique genetic potentialities are endowed upon each person. In 9 months, that person goes through millions of years of evolutionary development, from a microscopic cell to a fully developed infant capable of living outside the womb. For its development to continue, it must leave the womb and enter this world where it can continue its growth and development process. As educators, we can assist children to develop properly by helping them realize their capacities using the accumulated wisdom of the ages. As young people grow in competence, they are able to take increasing responsibility for their own process of development and becoming. Differentiation, integration, and generalization are the process of learning and development, whether it is physically, intellectually, emotionally, socially, or spiritually. This process starts at the moment of conception and continues throughout life. Learning in early life becomes the foundation for and affects later stages of development. In whatever way a tree is bent, it will grow. So there are two significant factors affecting all children to varying extents as they age. The first one is genes and the second one is parenting. So genes, children inherit genes from their parents, and this microscopic DNA strands can have a considerable impact on physical growth. For instance, genes determine approximately 80% of a person's adult height, and environmental factors like nutrition affects the other 20%. Also, a 2020 study reveals that genes influence head circumference and childhood intelligence. Genes also shape children's physical and mental health. Some infants are born with genetic disorders caused by mutations in their DNA strands. Conditions like Down syndrome, a chromosomal disorder, and spina bifida or congenital spinal disability significantly disrupt children's growth and development. So the second one is parenting. Parents or guardians also play a crucial role in children's growth and development. Parenting styles affect children's behavior, cognitive process, and personalities. For example, positive parenting practices like creating mealtime routines and feeding healthy snacks help children self-regulate their diet and weight. So let's proceed to our next topic, which is the social factors. Social factors are the varied social categories that could affect a person's circumstances, experiences, and social position. Contemporary sociologists define social factors as circumstances or situations that affect people's lifestyle and well-being, according to Godinier and Hull and King 2019. Social scientists often use social factors as key metrics in their studies. Social factors represent another important set of influences on consumer behavior. Specifically, these are the effects of people and groups influencing one another through culture and subculture, social class, reference group, and family. For example, it is not uncommon for a social scientist to study how a social factor affects a person's life chances. For example of social factors include ethnicity, gender, and culture. So, ethnicity is defined by sociologists as the common culture of a social group, such as language, religion, style of dress, food, shared history, and experiences. Hence, belonging to a minority ethnicity often implies less participation in society, discrimination, and fewer socioeconomic opportunities, according to Brownie 2005. Gender. Categorizing people by sex and gender is found in most society, generally between men and women, boys and girls. Commonly, men have a more dominant position in society. For example, household chores are in most parts of the world still performed by women and unpaid. So the last one is the culture. Culture includes a person's traditions, customs, and beliefs, lifestyles, buying habits, education, and sexuality is all factors that are affected by a person's or a society's culture. And that's the end of my part, which is the topic all about the developmental and social factors. So now let's proceed to our fourth speaker, which will tackle all about the individual differences factors.
Before we will move forward to the next topic, this is the summary of the previous topic. Developmental and social factors. This factor contribute to the mind's growth by systematically rewarding learners for their efforts. Emotional, intellectual, and physical development are all considered developmental components in the conception of maturity. Now we will talk about individual differences factors. Each factor has unique endowments, powers, responsibilities, talents, interests, and capabilities based on innate, inherited, and acquired characteristics. Inherited characteristics comes from the genetic makeup, and acquired characteristics are from education as genetic endowments interacting with the environment. Innate capacities and characteristics are those inborn qualities that makes us unique even from those who has had the same parents and similar environmental influence. These are the key factors of individual difference factors. First is individual difference in learning. Individuals are born with and develop their own capabilities and talents. Learners have different strategies, approaches, and capabilities for learning that are a function of prior experience and heredity. In addition to learning and social acculturation, they have acquired their own preference for how they like to learn and the pace at which they learn. However, these preferences are not always useful in helping learners reach their learning goals. Educators need to help students examine their learning preferences and expand or modify them if necessary. The interaction between learner difference and curricular and environmental condition is another key factors affecting learning outcomes. Individuals are born with and develop their own capabilities and talents. Next is learning and diversity. The same basic principles of learning, motivation, and effective instruction apply to all learners. However, language, ethnicity, race, beliefs, and socioeconomic status all can influence learning. Careful attention to those factors in instructional setting enhance the possibilities for designing and implementing appropriate learning environment. Self-assessment of learning progress can also improve students' self-appraisal skill and enhance motivation and self-directed learning. Performance assessment can provide other sources of information about the attainment of learning outcomes. Learning is the most effective when difference in learners' linguistic, cultural, and social background are taken into account. And the last factor is standard and assessment. Assessment provides important information to both the learner and teacher at all stages of their learning process. Ongoing assessment of their learners' understanding of the curricular material can provide valuable feedback to both learners and teachers about progress toward the learning goals. Standardized assessment of learner progress and outcomes assessment provides one type of information about achievement levels, both within and across individuals, that can inform various types of programmatic decision.
Culturally relevant teaching. Incorporate discerned perspectives, materials, and activities that resonate with the students' cultural backgrounds. Collaborative learning. Encourage group activities and discussion that promote social learning and a sense of a community.